Welcome everyone. Welcome back to Midas Letter Live. We got a lot of different things on the show today. We're gonna start right off. I got a mining fellow here, Steve Hughes. He's the CEO of
Carube Copper.
Carube Copper, ticker CUC. Steve's been all over the world. He's been involved in all aspects of mining, copper, gold, etc. Steve, welcome to the show.
Ed, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I know you've been on TV in various places of the world, London, England, and wherever, right?
Yeah, I worked for, my previous company was Jeannette Resources, so I was constantly doing podcasts for them.
And was that sold?
Yeah, no, it wasn't sold. They're doing a bankable feasibility study on it now. That's going to be a secondary copper oxide project in central Kalimantan.
Yeah. So you know, a year ago, I really wasn't paying attention to copper. Then I met Steve Dunn, and we started looking at, you know, the electrification of the world. Started looking at a lot of different things. It looks like, you know, copper's going to be, and everybody you talk to almost says copper has to get a lot more expensive.
Look, I agree. You got Rio Tinto, you know, they've got delays in their projects. Antofagasta and BHP, lower production. Freeport's going to shut down the Grasberg mine. That's coming at the end of this year.
That's a big mine?
That's a big mine. It's the first largest gold mine in the world and probably about the third or fourth largest copper mine. And
where is that in?
So that's in Papua, Indonesia, where
your area.
I used to be there for 23 years.
Right.
So that once that's shut down, that's going to take off about 350,000 tons off the market.
And you know, as we say, everything points to higher copper prices. In the last 3-4 months, copper's been doing nothing but going south.
Yeah, I think it's because you have all this conflict between China and the United States.
Tariffs.
A lot of tariffs, uncertainty.
Yeah.
So that's never a good thing for mining.
Saber rattling.
Yep. Who's got the bigger saber?
Who's got the bigger balls?
Yeah, who's got the bigger balls? In this case, Trump's trying to prove he does.
Yeah.
But once that's settled, and you know, I'm pretty confident that's going to get settled either this year or let's say early next year. Copper has to go up, and because the demand is there, but the supply is not. That's going down. Demand's going up. Supply's going down.
You know, I've talked to Steve, and I have bought a lot of Crown, and this isn't really about Crown, but it's about copper. And I didn't realize it, but I guess if a lot of hospitals are built today, they're going to put copper in some of the shelving and door handles, railings, because bacteria is killed on contact with copper after a while, right?
That's right. They're doing a lot of studies on that, and you got the electric vehicles. All piping in your buildings, you got expansions everywhere. Look at Oakville. I mean, you got massive expansions everywhere, and there's copper in all of that.
Yeah.
You know, all of your devices we have around the house, the air conditioning, the fridges, everything has copper.
Yeah. So, there's nothing to replace it either. Like you can use silver, but silver costs. Who's going to do it with silver? You can't afford it.
No, I mean it's. Look, you can use scrap, right? But it's the demand is always there. It is constantly going up. You see it, and there's no reason to believe it's not going to go up. China's continuing to do their stimulus packages, expansion in Indonesia. You know, all countries are continuing to expand. India. There's going to be a lot of copper use. Copper prices are going up. I predict next year $3 to $4.
And if India follows the path of China, I mean, the need for copper in a place like India with 1 billion plus people.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly. India, China, Indonesia. Indonesia has 300 million people, expanding rapidly.
So where are you focused with Carube? What's your goal there at Carube? I mean, are you looking for raw exploration? Are you looking for drill ready? Are you looking for you want to be a producer, or you want to find things and sell them?
Yeah, look, we got about. I think we got probably about 30 projects in the tenements we have in Jamaica. We're focusing on the main ridge right now. That's a gold project we found. We're found up to 19 grams per ton in rock chips.
Has it been drilled yet?
Not been drilled, but there's a mine to the southeast, and that was about 750,000 tons at running about 20 grams. That's a historic mine, no longer active. But we're right along trend to that northwest, and we're also looking to the southeast of that. And we're trying to tie that all up, do our work on the ground, which we're active right now, get it all in together, model it up, and then we'll target for drill delineation.
Yeah. Now there's been some pretty good activity in BC lately, Golden Triangle, and I see there's been I'm pretty sure somebody put out a report the other day saying that GT Gold, I think they got a $6 target on that. Like, you've seen some of the results. I know we had a chat. What do you think about GT Gold?
Look, I reviewed what they've done to date. It's very impressive for a deep porphyry. That's the grades are very high. Just, you know, looking at what they've hit, how they've stepped out, there's potentially 300 to 600 million tons there with good gold and copper. It's a very good discovery and good for Canada.
And that stock's what's sitting around about 75, 80 cents?
Yeah,
I can put it up here.
I think it's $1.75 now.
So are you discouraged at all with the price of copper, or do you think it's just a blip? You obviously.
Oh no, I'm not really discouraged in it because I believe in it, right? I believe copper is going to come back. So anyone that's, you know, actively exploring for copper right now, like we are, we're also actively, you know, looking across the globe to pick up additional copper assets. Will do well over the coming year. Things are going to change, and so long as your property is worthy of drilling and is potentially mineable, I believe next year that there'll be a significant turnaround in the business.
Right. How many shares do you have in Carube? Do you?
Roughly about 1 million I own. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, how many shares outstanding?
The company is, I think there's roughly about 250 million shares.
Okay.
So our market cap was around 10 million, a little over 10 million.
Sure. And it's no secret to say it hasn't been fun for junior mining companies.
No, it's brutal. We're at 5 cents.
Yeah, and the longer you know they stay depressed like this, that's also going to impact supply because there's nothing coming on, right?
Yeah, it's a big gap in the exploration. This happened, I believe it was in 1998 and through to 2003, right? There was this massive gap in exploration. And now we're going to go through that again because the companies like us, we find it hard to raise capital unless you have a good asset or a good team behind your project.
Right.
So, you know, it'll put more pressure on the metals, copper, lead, zinc. So, yeah.
Just a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. It's going up. I mean, I've been looking at, and I've got my statistics here, I've been looking at the average grades of systems in Canada. You can see good mines in Canada are running 0.3 copper, 0.3 gold. And they make is that a porphyry when you say? Yeah, that's a porphyry, and that dirt in the ground runs at let's say $25.
Okay.
At today's prices. Whereas if you have a leach mine, and it's running 0.6, that dirt's only about $20 per ton. And then you look at Chile, their average grades are anywhere from 0.5 to 0.7. They don't have a lot of gold, so you're looking at $30 to $35 per ton. So I strongly believe that the new norm is going to be, you're going to be looking at copper deposits over the next 10, 15 years, they're going to be about 0.4 with some credits of silver and gold.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
The low-hanging fruit, there is no more low-hanging fruit, is there?
There's not. There's very few projects around. I mean, I constantly look for acquisition targets, right?
Right.
And they're not easy to find.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that's in the range of 0.1 to 0.3, very little in the range of 0.3 to 0.6, and almost none above 1%. It's not easy to find good copper assets.
Yeah, interesting. Steve, we're going to leave it there. Okay, we're going to leave it there, and we're going to hear Emblem Cannabis.
Letter Live.
Is that going to happen now?
Nick Dean, who's the CEO of Emblem Corp, trading on the TSXV under the symbol EMC. Nick, how's it going today?
It's going well, Fraser. Thanks for having me.
Great. We were talking a little bit off camera about the rec space, so thought it would be good to dive into that right away.
Sure.
Myself and others in the office have been scouring the internet forums and saw some things such as Emblem was third among sales in the adult use space. Can you comment on?
Yeah, I can neither confirm nor deny the factuality of those forum boards right now, but all indications are that our Symbl brand is probably one of the top selling brands in Ontario, at least, which is where that forum information is talking about. Yep. So we're incredibly excited. We did a lot of planning in advance to really focus on what were the key markets Emblem was going to focus on with our adult use strategy. And Ontario, the largest Canadian market, was obviously a market we wanted to have a firm presence in, as well as Alberta and Saskatchewan. And so that was a really focused effort, and in some ways it was a conservative approach. We intentionally didn't spread ourselves too thin across the country out of the gate. We said, let's focus. And as a result of that, we actually were able to achieve 100% of our commitments to the provinces in which we had supply agreements. And I think that's why we're seeing pretty good sales out of the gate.
Yeah, well, one thing that jumped out at me for sure is I was looking at the website and refreshing it and monitoring over the first few days, and Symbl was dominating the front page, and I was kind of wondering how does that happen? How did you guys do that, and if you have any insight as to how that happened?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, we didn't have previous discussions with the OCS around placement on the website.
So it wasn't rigged.
It wasn't rigged. But what it comes down to is sort of marketing fundamentals, right? Like, I think it comes down to the fact that we really focused on the right pricing strategy, we focused on the right promotion, and we focused on the right packaging. So we intentionally went with a bright blue packaging box that we thought would stand out really nicely on white backgrounds. And whether that white background was on the OCS website or whether that white background was in a retailer's shelving unit. So I think that stood out. Number two, we priced it in a way that we knew we would be able to access probably a larger number of consumers. And so I think that was something that we strategically focused on as well. Make sure that we got the pricing right so that it will attract the right audiences. We're really pleased. We did not rig it, but yeah, it sort of comes down to the marketing fundamentals. And then of course we were promoting the brand in advance. So we had, our goal as a leadership team was we want to drive a ton of anticipation for our brand in advance of legalization so that when that does open up, consumers are running in the door and asking for Emblem's products, this one being Symbl. And I think we achieved that through our billboards, through our online strategy, through our influencer strategy, and through our PR strategy.
Another thing about what I was noticing and wondering about is the quantities and things like that you'd see pop up on the website. What were the restrictions, and what do you think worked best for you guys? Yeah,
it's a great question. The other thing that we did was we were able to provide a large quantity of 1 gram packs. Now they're incredibly difficult to package, and I think a number of LPs have been having challenges with coming up with the right manufacturing line, the right supply chain line to actually deliver 1 gram packages. So I think Emblem was one of only a few LPs that were able to provide those 1 gram packages to both the OCS, the AGLC. And when you think about a new market, people want to experience a product before they overcommit to large quantities. So the fact that Symbl is offering 1 gram packs across our 3 different SKUs, or 3 different strains, I think that's been a strong reason why the brand is, and the product is selling like we're seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. Instead of having like a massive garbage bag of weed that it would take you your whole lifetime to get. Yeah.
Well, and you may not like it, right? So some people they just don't want to overcommit to 3.5 grams, 7 grams, 15 grams. They want to commit to something that they can sample, they can decide if they like it, and then they can move on from there and maybe make a larger purchase their next time.
And so for Ontario, in terms of like an amount that you committed to as a company, what was that initial amount, and then how does it work moving forward when? Because it looks like there's products running out here and there, and then how does that get renewed?
So look, I'm not going to share the specific quantities, but what we did do again is we committed quantities that we knew we could deliver. So we wanted to make sure that when the OCS or the AGLC sent us their purchase order, we were able to fulfill on that. Look, this is the start of a new relationship, and first impressions mean everything. And we wanted to make sure that the OCS saw us as a valued partner, and they knew that they could rely on us to deliver our commitments. So that was a big part of our focus, was be conservative, which is also, like I said, why we focused on only 3 provinces to begin with. The other thing we did, and you raised this, we are hearing about supply challenges in the industry right now. Something that we did intentionally as well was we set aside product for our patients. We knew there would likely be supply challenges, but we are a patient-first company. We've been operating for a number of years. We've been providing products to patients in need, And we wanted to make sure that those patients didn't come up empty-handed as a result of the adult use market coming online. And so we created a large inventory of our dried flower, of our oils products, of our new oral sprays, so that we would be able to continue delivering our commitment to our patients first while still delivering our commitment to the province. So that's something that we were incredibly proud of. And I think it comes down to the team and how good they were at planning in advance of the adult use coming online.
Okay, great. Last rec-related question I have is, you mentioned the provinces you're in. Are you looking at any others in the near future to kind of get in there?
Yeah, so we're in Ontario, I can't say it, Saskatchewan.
nobody can say it.
Alberta, and we will be in BC. So we've recently announced that we've got an agreement with BC. So likely that will start early in 2019. But then our plan is to go Canada-wide. So as our more supply comes online through some of the supply agreements that we've established, we will be branching ourselves out across the country.
Okay, great.
In early 2019.
And BC seems like a big one, obviously.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It'll be big. I think we want to have a strong presence in BC, we'd love to have a strong presence in Quebec, and we'd love to have a strong presence in the East Coast. But again, it was being focused out of the gate.
Awesome. Okay, so on to medical, just looking at your recent press releases, you finalized the agreement to launch Emblem Germany in a joint venture with Acnos.
That's correct.
Did I say that right? Yeah?
You did, yeah.
Okay, so could you elaborate on that and what that's going to mean moving forward?
Sure. So it's an incredible opportunity. We've been working with the Acnos team now for about a year, coming up with this approach and this partnership. We announced the LOI likely about 4 or 5 months ago now. So we're thrilled to announce that we've now come to the definitive agreement. We are in the process of finishing our Product Innovation Center, which is a 30,000 square foot manufacturing R&D product development facility in Paris, Ontario. And within that, we're going to have a 5,000 square foot GMP certified lab. As a result of that GMP certified lab, we're going to be able to export product to Germany, likely as almost finished goods. There will be some level of compounding required once that product lands in Germany to distribute it to patients in need there. But it really is as a result of us completing that GMP certified facility, which should take place early in Q1. So we should be in the process of starting to export product. Let's call it early Q3 of 2019.
Okay, that sounds good. And GMP certification to me sounds like a kind of a big deal. Can you just elaborate a little bit on? It sounds like that would be a difficult process to get it approved, and that not everybody and their uncle is walking around with a GMP certification.
I think that's correct. I think it comes down to good manufacturing processes and the way that you would design a facility, so that what standards are in Canada would also be the same standards in other countries. And because those standards are similar, you can then create the export opportunity. We have a strong pharmaceutical background at Emblem. We have a strong pharmaceutical team that's joined us from other industries, and so they bring a lot of this knowledge. There are some other LPs that would have GMP certified facilities, but it's definitely not everyone. So this is a unique differentiator for Emblem. And I think the fact that we've got it within our 30,000 square foot product innovation center, based in Paris, Ontario, just only enhances the strength of what we're going to be able to provide. I think something else I want to touch on just with Germany, though, is it's going to be a really great market for us from a profitability standpoint. So based on the structure of our agreement with Acnos, it's a 60-40 joint venture. But Emblem's actually able to sell our product, like I said, the finished goods, to the joint venture at a pretty decent premium. And then as a result of the joint venture structure, we do profit sharing at that 60-40 split. So it will be an incredibly lucrative market for Emblem moving forward. And we're really excited to get it off the ground in early Q3.
Right. Another thing that popped out at me here is this wholesale supply agreement with Afria.
Yes.
Bringing the total supply to almost 200,000 kg over 5 years.
Right.
So what's the nature of that relationship?
Sure. So we recently signed the largest LP to LP wholesale supply agreement with Afria, we think, in the world. It's a 175,000 kilogram commitment over 5 years. We've been exploring a number of opportunities. I think I said this to James last time I met. Emblem's always been known for product innovation, strong branding, and good distribution partnerships. Where we sometimes got criticized was in terms of our cultivation or our funded capacity. And so we were looking at opportunities to solve that. Do we build a greenhouse? Do we acquire a greenhouse? Or do we sort of be creative and zig while everyone else is zagging and really allow Emblem to focus on product innovation and branding and distribution, and let someone else who's really incredibly strong at cultivation take the lead on that. And so we formed a partnership with Afria. It's got price certainty over 5 years, so we know what our costs are. We will be using that product to develop our value-added products out of our product innovation center, and we're really excited about it. Again, it gives us that price certainty. It's got price protection. It's indexed against prices that could be coming down in the future. So we're thrilled. And Aphria are great partners, and they're incredible cultivators. So yeah, we're really excited about that partnership with them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is why Aphria over anyone else, and in a landscape where it's super competitive, but at the same time, there's got to be a bit of camaraderie there. Where
there is, yeah, and the structure of the agreement. Look, we've been working with Aphria for a number of years, and the relationship between Aphria and Emblem has always been friendly. And you know, we have had supply agreements with them in the past where they were providing us with products. So it wasn't a new idea for us to partner with them. We really appreciate their business strategy. The structure of the agreement, they actually now own about 5% of Emblem's equity, or Emblem's shares outstanding. So that was a unique structure where they were really reinforcing our business strategy and our business plan. And it was just a unique model that we were really pleased with. So yeah, we're thrilled with them.
Great. So I think we've covered quite a bit. I mean, looking forward into, I guess, 2019 now, you mentioned some key things that are going on with Emblem. Is there anything else that I didn't get to that you feel shareholders need to know? No,
I think the focus is, I just want to reinforce, our focus is going to be on high margin value-added products. And you know, I'll touch on a few things. With our existing oils, we're generating revenue of about $15 per gram. You move up to our oil sprays, we're generating revenues of around $20 per gram. And we only see that continuing as we continue to introduce new products to the market, like our capsules. Ultimately, we want to be getting into the edibles space. So that's going to be our focus. You know, our focus is Canada-wide expansion. Our focus is going to be international expansion. So Germany is first, but you know, we're looking at the UK. We're looking at other European countries where we're going to be able to establish relationships that may be similar to the one we've established with Agnos. So I think, you know, this is really just the beginning for Emblem. 2018 has been a year of evolution. It's been a year of change. It's been a year of really refining our focus and our strategy. And I think 2019 is going to be a wonderful year for us in both the medical space and in the adult use space.
Great. Sounds like it's going to be a happy new year.
Great. So
awesome. Well, we'll leave it there, and I'm sure you'll be back soon, and we'll have another chat.
Great. Thanks, Fraser.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We're back. Midas Letter live, and we got a great interview set up right now. We have Alison Gordon and Jeannette. I'll get this right. VanderMarel.
Very good. That's right.
Okay, and just so the viewers know, Jeannette was a founder of Tea God.
Yes.
And she's now joining her company, her private company, with Alison Gordon's public company.
Yes.
And it's a very big transaction.
It's a very, very big transaction.
And yesterday the market noted it and,
yeah,
and rewarded you with a nice increase.
Yes, they did. We were up about 20% yesterday. We've been working on this deal for, you know, they don't happen overnight, even though it seems that way.
How long have you been working on it?
I think Jeannette and I...
Summer?
Yeah.
This summer.
We were on a panel together, and I've long admired Jeannette. She is an industry veteran. And,
sure.
And while people say that lightly, it's so important for our industry. And you and I have talked about this before,
sure,
which is really to have the experience having, you know, Jeannette's the only person in Canada to have gotten 2 licenses from, you know, application right through. So to have that experience of cultivating, building the business, working with Health Canada, understanding the regulation, like you can't put money on that kind of thing.
Street cred.
Yeah, well, more than street cred, business cred.
Well, but I mean, you know, you're real.
Yeah.
You've done it.
She's done it.
Absolutely, and it was worked out great.
Oh,
good.
Go ahead. No, sorry.
I've been a fan of Alison for a long time as well. We met back in 2014, I believe, and when we were all waiting to get licenses from Health Canada at the time. And she's done amazing. She's amazing at branding, knowing what consumers need, really identifying brand trends, markets, sales, really getting that name out there. So we see it's a great complementary relationships between our companies. I'm certainly focused on outdoor cultivation with Health Canada's approval. That's a great new thing in the regulations. We can now actually do outdoor cultivation under the Cannabis Act.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So when Jeannette and I first started talking, they had their indoor facility, which they have, and they received their cultivation license a couple weeks ago.
Where is this facility?
Brantford, Ontario. So just
I
west
live in
of
London, Ontario,
okay,
so
perfect.
I know
Okay,
where
you know
Brantford
where,
is.
right? So
I'll stop by.
Please do. Please do.
The train stops there every day.
Perfect.
Yeah, so Jeannette, their facility was in Brantford. beautiful facility, a lot of room for manufacturing, extraction, all the things 48 North wants to do with the next generation products that you and I've discussed, like the edibles and the vapes and the topicals. And then sort of really early into our conversation, Health Canada announces they're going to allow for the outdoor grow. So we started investigating that at our facility in Northern Ontario, and we just, you know, it's a lot to get into agriculture, never mind indoor and greenhouse cultivation.
Yes.
So Jeannette, in our conversation, says, okay, we've just purchased an organic farm 10 minutes from the indoor facility. It's perfect. It has 2 harvests organic, and I'm growing outdoor. And I was like, we have got to get this deal done because Health Canada wants to work with people like Jeannette, people who they know can show that their process and regulations will lead to success, and she's done it twice before, so I have no doubt she'll do it again.
And going forward, you're going to be co-CEOs of the new entity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was this a cash transaction?
No, this was an all-stock transaction. Yeah, and we received a lead order of $7 million from a very large hedge fund out of the US, so over $20 billion in assets they manage, so very blue chip. We're super excited about that. They saw the opportunity to be able to meld Good and Green with 48 North, bring those together, bring the low-cost production. I mean, outdoor is just a game changer, and Jeannette can talk to you about that. It's just, it will change the game in Canada, quite frankly.
So outdoor production is much more...
It's much better. So cannabis is a plant that grows outdoors. The only reason it was brought indoors...
It's like the difference between maybe real and not real, right? Like, I hate to say it that way, but
it's true. The only reason it was brought indoors is because of the illegality of it. So people started growing their garages and basements and greenhouses inevitably.
And their houses.
And their houses and all those places.
That house down the street. What's that house down the street doing?
A lot of electricity there.
Yeah, like jeepers.
So outdoor, my focus is on organics. Obviously founding the other company, the Green Organic Dutchman, started that on a basis of organics, and I'm continuing with that. We found a wonderful 100-acre organic farm very close to our site in Brantford. And
are you from the area?
I live in Ancaster.
Okay, nice. Nice. That's a nice town.
Yes,
near Hamilton, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the outdoor production, like, I'm not supposed to give numbers, but really it is significantly less than greenhouse. And so
in terms of cost.
In terms of cost. And that's where, you know, ultimately one of the things that we admired about each other and why we're excited is we're very focused on profitability.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I know
that's nice to hear.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. For me, I don't understand, and you know, excuse my ignorance, but running these companies that will have massive overhead because they've maybe got a ton of facilities and infrastructure. The idea that we could have 46,000 kilos in 2019 with our current facility, as well as what Jeannette's doing in Brantford and the farm, I mean, like, that's a very tight operation.
Just remind the viewers, how much cash are you sitting on right now?
We are, well, I guess we have about 10 million in the bank.
Yes.
We have the lead order of 7, and we're going to raise another 3 by the end of November.
Yeah.
So you're raising $10 million.
We've raised 7,
Okay, but you're not using that money to buy this business.
No.
You're doing a stock transaction.
Yeah.
So that's just going to shore up your working capital, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're a public company, so there's only so much we can say, but let's just say I'm very excited to announce our first quarter financials very soon. So the cash in the bank is really for us. Part of it is for the farm, some of the stuff in Brantford.
There's some low CapEx and then OpEx for the farm.
Yeah, so you're going to be major, you two are going to be major shareholders, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's always something on my checklist.
Yes.
I want to see skin in the game.
Oh, I definitely have that.
Because if you don't have skin in the game, and there's a book on the bestseller list right now, if you don't have skin in the game, what's the point?
That's right.
Like, nobody cares, right?
Right.
If you don't have your own blood, sweat, and tears involved, nobody, you can just turn around and walk away.
No, that's certainly not the case here. I'm obviously heavily vested. Obviously, it's an all-stock transaction, so I have to.
Did you have an employee option plan, or you?
Yeah, we do. Both of us believe strongly in that.
Yeah, good.
Incentivizing employees to keep going. I mean, this industry, one of the big challenges is human capital, right?
Absolutely.
As I said, like, to find somebody with Jeannette's experience, it's not possible. You could not find them and you couldn't hire them. So you have, what is it, like 65 sales licenses right now? There aren't a ton of people out there in Canada who have worked in this industry that you can engage. So anyone that you've hired, they're a hot commodity for another licensed producer. So keeping your staff incentivized and motivated is really a key.
Yeah, this sounds like a really a nice marriage here. It looks like
we think we have a great time, and we have great communication.
Yeah,
and I think
I sense your
we're excited,
positive energy here. Like, well, and you're obviously complimenting
We're really
each other.
excited because it's not easy running a cannabis business. No one's anyone who says it is not telling the truth. You're running in all directions. Like, we want to come and speak with you, and you've got the stock, market stuff. You've got investor relations growing.
Yeah, for sure.
So 2, we say, is better than 1 for sure. I mean, and I think
split up our roles. So I'll be more focused on operational management, government relations, areas like that. Alison, obviously, in the great skills in marketing, branding, sales, investor relations, and it's very complementary. And the same as our companies, where mine is more focused on high cost or high production, low cost output, and you're creating great brands that'll resonate with consumers. So it's a perfect company.
Yeah, I mean, right now at our facility in Kirkland, we are selling wholesale, which we've talked about before, Ed, and because there is a big undersupply in the market, we're getting incredible prices, between $7 and $8 a gram for our wholesale product, which requires very little infrastructure and costs. So having Jeannette's skill set be able to come in and help us increase those yields, I mean, with minimal expense or none additional expense, we're going to be able to up that our grow. And quite frankly, the biggest companies in this space are currently competing to purchase our wholesale and make 12-month commitments. So this is a really interesting time to have a good, solid company. Everyone's looking at the stocks and going, it's dipping and the industry's over. It's like, no, this is going to be a $10 billion industry. There will be lots of money for these companies to make, but how tight can you keep it while it's all the kinks get worked out?
Yeah, for sure. And I know, I've been involved for 40 years in a number of different things, and all, quite a bit at the junior end. The disregard for the cash, control, managing the money properly. Like, let's face it, you don't have any cash, nothing happens. And if you have cash, then you can meander, and you can do what you have to do and survive.
I think that did work, but I think right now, as this industry develops, I think we have to have real fiscal responsibility. I think we have to have real key metrics and build KPIs. I think we have to be able to execute our business plans effectively. And I think that's the change in the maturation in the industry now. Whereas I think there was a lot of momentum previously.
Sure. Well, now it's real, right? Like, it's legal, it's real, it's game time.
But it's not real in the sense, it's real, but I think what people need to understand is legalization is a process. So it's not, the provincial governments aren't just going to open hundreds of stores overnight. So that's the point that we're making. We have a low cost, high quality grow, and we have product, which is necessary, but we're not spending ridiculous money to then not really have anywhere to distribute or sell into, right? So I guess what I'm saying is, we've always felt, and Jeannette and I are on the same page, we don't necessarily believe there's a first mover advantage to brands in this chaotic retail environment. I mean, we both ordered from the OCS on the same night, the night of the 17th, right? Jeannette got hers, I think, a week later. I got mine 2 weeks later. I didn't even, when it arrived, was like, it just didn't even, it lost the luster of any of it. So that reflects on those companies, right? Like, while it's not their fault, I wasn't happy with what I'd ordered because I got it 2 weeks later. So we're kind of saying, okay, wholesale's good. We'll get our stuff into store as we see things start to develop, and consumers can have the right experience.
And how many, so what was the specific terms for so it was a total value of $10 million? Was that the transaction?
No, it was
18.
18? Yeah. And so that's all stock?
Yeah.
And at what price was that? What was the deemed value of the stock? Like, was it like at 50 cents a share?
No, what we're saying is that it was at, like, when we calculate everything all together, at today's stock price, it would be an $18 million transaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, is that okay?
Well, it sounds like a great great combination.
Well, we'd love to host you in Brantford.
Come visit.
Okay.
You guys should come and check
sure.
out the grow. They just started, cultivating on Friday.
Right.
Very nice to have plants in the building now and moving forward with growing. And,
Yeah.
and
We're probably at the end of growing season here.
This is indoor.
This is indoor. Okay. So we have the 46,000 square foot indoor facility in Brantford and the 100-acre outdoor farm. So we've broken ground and we're working on getting things ready already for the 2019 growing season on the farm, installing fencing, security, all the things to be compliant with Health Canada, and working on amending the soil organically. So we're ready to plant early in spring 2019.
That's going to be so exciting.
It's a beautiful farm.
I think of it outdoor.
I know.
It's going to be.
Now, I guess you're going to have like, I guess you just can't, there's got to be, is this got to be fenced in somehow?
Yeah. Absolutely. So it has to be compliant. The new regulations say that we must have the same thing. So perimeter security, access control, and intrusion detection and control.
Wire, electric fences.
All those things. Yeah, I don't tell you everything we're doing for security, but there's a lot of security features.
I was being a little
Yeah, it's not just open fields.
No.
We're not there yet.
Well, I grew up on a little farm in that area, so I know.
Did you?
I know the area. Well, no, it's down towards Windsor, but southwestern Ontario.
Yeah. Well, and this is a beauty. That's the other part of it.
Brantford's spectacular.
Well, for farming,
it's
amazing.
I mean,
if you wanted to live somewhere, it's only like an hour and 15 minutes by train from downtown.
And you're not helping me getting Jeannette to move to Toronto with this like beauty.
Maybe you're gonna move to Brantford.
Maybe.
Well, then how would I come visit you guys?
By train.
I mean,
yeah, that's true. Jeanette's here. No, it's a perfect place to grow, and that's the thing too. So when the government announced that they would allow for the outdoor grow, there's not that many. I mean, you can speak better to this.
There's not a lot that have moved into that already. My background is in agriculture. I grew up, my family is one of the largest apple producers in Ontario.
Is that the Niagara?
In the Hamilton-Burlington area.
Sure.
So I grew up in a large-scale farming family.
Sure.
So as soon as outdoor was allowed, I started researching.
Is that a Dutch name?
It is.
Yeah,
yes. My parents
I know a lot of people in the area that in the dairy business.
Yeah,
we're just amazing talent in that field, like in farming and agriculture.
Most of the rural communities, I think, are an awful lot of Dutch people. My parents were Dutch immigrants.
Yeah.
Came from Holland and began farming.
Is that the Green Organic Dutchman? Is that?
I'm the Dutch part of that. Yes.
No kidding. There you go. Whoa.
Now it's making sense to you, the whole thing.
We made a connection here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm nearly Dutch.
Now, is there anything else you want to add?
No, we're really excited. Low cost production obviously is very important.
Sure.
It's great that we didn't spend a lot of capital on greenhouse infrastructure, because I think that outdoor growing is going to be a total game changer in the industry. And obviously developing brands and products for the edibles and topical health and beauty market for next year.
Yeah, I'll just add, because I know last time I was on, we talked about the outdoor because we had done the supply deal and some of the people were commenting and going outdoor. So realistically, the bulk of outdoor, large percentage of it is used for extracted purposes.
Yes.
So for, as Jeannette said, the things that will come in a year, the edibles, the vapes, all of those things. So for those viewers who are looking at going outdoor, that's going to be whatever, not something they're thinking about when they want that shelf. So
that's why you've got the great indoor production at your northern site, and I've got a great indoor facility in Brantford as well. So now we have 2 indoor sites that are licensed, plus we've got the huge capacity on the farm.
And the outdoor, how much acreage do you have again? Just
100 acres.
100 acres. I know exactly what 100 acres is.
Yeah, and 100 acres, like at a conservative estimate, would get you about 40,000 kilos. Like that is a significant amount of inventory. And for extracted purposes, it's huge. And so when you think about, we all saw the speculation around Coca-Cola and all the big CPGs coming in. They are going to need to partner with a company that can have a large scale, low cost, organic, I think would be ideal, supply. Because think about if Coca-Cola is doing a CBD drink, I mean, that's a mass amount. They can't work with people who may or may not have inventory for them.
And I was just thinking, there's going to be a lot of successes, but there's also going to be failures.
Oh, yeah.
And if you manage the money properly, then you'll be a...
I completely agree. And that's really where we're focused on profitability and fiscal responsibility. And good shareholder value, but there's ways to do it without burning excessive amounts of capital.
This is good.
The Dutch are known to be frugal, so it's.
Listen, sometimes less is more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know who we are. And we're not trying to take over the world. We want to have great revenues, great profits, and expand from there. We'll see where it goes.
Sure.
But certainly focus on those key metrics first and make sure we're doing it right.
And the other thing that I think is really important to Jeannette and I, you know that 48 North was focused on the female market, and Jeannette has been a long advocate for women in the industry. But really, as we came together, we were like, we still want to have focus and do female-oriented products, or for women, but we also want to have more diversity. We feel there's a real lack of diversity in the industry.
Sure. Not
just gender, all sorts of diversity, and we just think these are markets that they're cannabis users and consumers.
Yeah.
And by taking the time to engage these markets, you can really win.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Perfect.
Ed.
Okay, I think we're going to leave it there.
All right.
Come visit us in Brantford.
I definitely will. And I'm looking for samples. I'm just
No samples.
samples.
You can't take anything out.
Okay, cannabis isn't the only plant that was given a new life on October 17th. Its cousin, hemp, was also made legal, which is good news considering its very checkered past. Liz West has more.
Go Liz.
Once upon a time, hemp was living the rock star life. Vincent van Gogh painted this famous painting on it. It was used as paper to draft the American Declaration of Independence in 1776. It was a cash crop and U.S. taxes were paid with it. Politicians grew it, and get this, it was actually illegal not to grow hemp in some colonies. Let's just say hemp was living the good life. So what happened?
These high school boys and girls are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently they dance. Innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
In the 1930s, the public's attitude toward cannabis took a turn for the worse. Huge corporations had a vested interest in making hemp illegal. Specifically, wealthy magnates like W.R. Hearst, who owned vast forests used for the production of paper. Get it? Paper. From trees, not hemp. These guys wanted the hemp paper trade outlawed. Hearst used his newspapers to convince Americans that hemp was a life-destroying drug, just like its cousin marijuana, and the rich and powerful got their way. In 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was passed in the U.S., which meant it became illegal to produce any plant type associated with the cannabis family, including hemp. The plant was banned for the next 80 years. Fast forward to 2014, when former U.S. President Barack Obama signed the Federal Farm Bill. It allowed states with hemp legislation to grow the plant for research purposes. And that's where it got stuck south of the border. Meanwhile, in Canada, we haven't treated the green leaf all that well either. 200 years ago, Canadian farmers were actually given free seeds from the King of England. In 1928, the Canadian House of Commons encouraged Canadian farmers to grow hemp. But just a decade later, we joined the international battle against THC and other controlled substances by prohibiting cannabis. Hemp became a casualty of war and, like in the US, was now unwelcome. While Posh and Bex were planning their wedding in 1998, the Canadian government legislated the planting and processing of industrial hemp. For the first time in 60 years, farmers were able to grow and manufacture parts of the plants, such as the stalks and the seeds, but nothing else. Which brings us to now. With the legalization of recreational cannabis in Canada, the entire hemp plant has been liberated. Its flowers and leaves can be legally used for anything. For Midas Letter Live, I'm Liz West.
Drum roll. Well, we're back. Let me read this to you. This is very important. Now that we know from whence it came, next week in part 2 we'll explore why making hemp legal is good news for investors. There you go. I guess that now it's you and I.
I think
Fraser.
So. Yeah.
Fraser's has not left the building.
I have not left the building. I've been in the out of control room here and there.
How's California?
California was great. We did a lot of shooting for the.
Now, when you say shooting, you mean film?
Yep. Yeah, we did a lot of shooting for the doc. We visited with the Weekend Unlimited.
To that mansion that they...
yes.
Is that a mansion?
It was a mansion in the hills, a party house is what we called it. And their ticker's YOLO, so that only makes sense. So that was cool. It's really hot there.
It'd be a different world. I mean, if you lived in LA and you were hanging around celebrities all the time, and
yeah.
But James was saying a lot of people, they have very healthy lifestyles now, right? They don't drink, they don't smoke.
Yeah, I guess so. It was, and yeah, I mean.
So what do you take away? You think California is a big market? Big market.
Yeah, it's you know, walking into the MedMen stores, it's in CBD tinctures and things like that. So, you know, not just single them out, but they're making a ton of money. Not just MedMen. I think anybody, any dispensary that has high traffic.
So is that the biggest company by market cap that's operating in California? Would you say MedMen? Is it, or it's not Tilray?
No, well, I'd have to look that up. But in terms of MedMen's whole thing is their retail presence. So they, and you know, they have a really good formula. Their stores look like Apple stores. Everything's presented really well. You get a nice experience, and then, and everything, you know.
You get a nice experience at the store, and then when you go home and use some of their products, you have another experience.
Yeah, unless you're surprised because you got something you didn't ask for, I guess. But and you, I think it's one of those it's tough to get out of there without spending
a lot more than you thought.
Yeah, you don't spend $20. You know, it's
so they have things like lost leaders where they get you in there and you think, hey, here's
it's like, oh,
what about this?
Yeah,
what about this?
That's exactly what it is. So you may go with the intent to spend $20, and you could, but you're leaving spending $200.
It's like when I go to Joe Fresh. I'm thinking I'm going to buy just one shirt, and I end up buying 5 because they're so cheap.
Yeah, or you think you're going to buy one shirt and you buy a onesie. So we had a nice green day today. A nice fat green day.
Green day for the green.
Desperately needed, don't you think?
Well, I just want to put up. I want to just check a couple things because we had some good talk yesterday about, you know, the market dropped in New York.
Yeah.
Severely.
Yeah.
Like it was a horrendous month, and I know it's rallied a bit here, so it's not going to show up as bad. October's not going to be as bad. Today's being the last day, but the S&P.
Oh yeah, happy Halloween, everyone! If that's a thing in your world.
Happy Halloween. Yeah.
We should get a chart up.
Yeah, you know why witches can't have children?
Why can't witches have children?
Because they go out with men that have Halloweenies. Anyway, that's just a little lighthearted.
That's a small cap joke.
That's a small cap joke. So let's get the chart of the S&P up here.
Yay!
And so we saw this big day here a couple days ago, and I thought that might. And so far it's stood up as a bit of a bottom. I see we're backing off here. I'd like to see a little better, but there's a gap there that may have to get filled. Okay, and I'm going to put up the Midas Letter index just to give an idea of how green things are.
Yeah.
And here we go, cannabis. So we should be, here we go.
Well, those are the big boys over there.
That's the big one, yeah. Look at this, up 10%.
I think it was higher earlier in the day, maybe.
Probably, but still 10% is a monster move.
Yeah, totally.
And you look back and you look at how many times have we gone from, say, that kind of a drop? Well, we haven't. No. You know, that is epic.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for the. Oh, it would have been.
Yeah, but it
back there.
But not.
No.
You know, it's obviously similar. So, and the smaller indices are obviously up 7, up 6, up 6.5%.
Can we make that the big board full screen?
Yeah, the big boy here.
Well, this was Ben.
Full screen.
Yeah, so Ben Smith had a poll on his Twitter.
Now, do you want me to change the?
No, I just wish I could see where what month it is back there.
Okay, I'll tell you. That's November. That's a 1-year chart. That's a 1-year chart.
Oh, so look how
that goes back to last Halloween.
Yeah, so look how wimpy the sell-off looked in retrospect compared to now. That's crazy. Well, so it's almost like the volatility is getting bigger.
Well, you know, and we've come from a higher price. I mean, remember, this is an all-time high here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
That looks like the chart of canopy growth to some degree, in my mind.
Yeah. What I was going to say though is Ben put a poll on his Twitter asking people what their strategy would be, and it was right at the worst part of this pullback or squeeze or whatever you want to call it. Would you go for a top tier large Canadian company because their price seems like it's at maybe a big discount? Would you go for a beat up junior, or I can't remember what the other options were, but the majority of people picked the top tier, like Canopy, Afria, Aurora. Yeah. Because their price came down so much that it seems like a good buy.
Look at Afria here, third on the list, up 16%.
Yeah. They're going to be trading on the NYSE on Friday.
November the 2nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, Green Organic Dutchman, and by the way, the lady that was on the interview here, Jeannette, she was a founder of Green, and she apparently is the Dutchman. Yeah. Or the Dutch woman.
The Dutch woman, yeah.
The Dutch woman.
Yeah.
Now, you notice that it's not doing anything today in that, but apparently, okay, here, just, let me just get rid of this.
Or just put them live on the air, who cares?
How about that? Let's put them live on the air. How about that? So there's going to be 120 million shares coming free trading on Friday on TGOD. Yeah. Now, that's just more supply, and I believe, and I hope I'm right, the cost of those shares are less than half of that price because they were done way some time ago privately.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, if you're sitting on a double, now you had it like a quadruple.
Yeah.
But you still have a double, say to speak. Now, what do? Do you sell it, or do you think I'm going to,
hang on?
I'm going to hang on, and if you do sell it, you're going to put pressure on.
Yeah, I think you might want to at least hang on for just a little bit so that the sales pictures get a little bit better, and so does the customer demand.
Yeah. Well, we're probably going to see increased demand. Increased trading. Right. Of virtue because there's a new pool of 100 million shares, which at 100 million shares at $3 is another $300 million worth of stock.
Which is nothing. Just kidding. Let's see. I'm just going to take a look at...
Surely you jest.
Yes. I don't know about you, but when I was on here with Stephen Meisner, I kind of ignored our audience here a little bit. So I'm just going to say...
You know what? I don't even know how to even interact with the audience, so this is a good thing. Let's look at some comments.
We got Reefer Al Joint, which is a regular. How's it going? Neil Fletcher.
Hello, everyone.
Neil Fletcher actually, I'll just build that into a question. He said about tomorrow, continued uptrend, or are we going to go sideways?
I think we've bottomed. Yeah. And we're going higher, and if the S&P fills that gap, and I think they're somewhat tied in right now, they seem to be in a bit in lockstep. I think we're going to have a little bit of a correction maybe, and then a continuation. So, maybe that's already happened.
With the S&P?
Well, I'm just going to get back to the S&P.
The Standard & Poor's?
Standard & Poor's 500 index is still up substantially, although there's a pretty big wick on this today's candle. And there's a gap. That gap may have to get filled before we go higher, and that's just an observation.
I know you have mentioned many times that gaps usually get filled, but is it always the case?
No, you know what? I don't say that there's never a time when
yeah, there's a gap over there.
Yeah, but it came back and filled it over here.
Oh, okay. Well then.
But okay. The point is this. We've definitely broken this trend, okay?
Yeah.
The question is, do we come back here and do some more testing, and then if that testing holds and it takes off, then we could have a real bona fide, melt up, which some people are calling for. You look at where we were here, which is around 26,000, close to 26,000, and here at 27.4, it's 140 points, or 1,400 points.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta get rid of this phone. I just walked off the set. I'm coming back.
He's not going anywhere, folks.
Okay.
No,
Sorry
why
about
is it
that.
called this PORs anyway? Standards and PORs.
I think there's probably some gentlemen's names. I mean,
So
don't quote me that.
Standard is one guy, and the
Maybe
other guy's
standard,
PORs?
And if you don't do the right thing, you're going to end up poor.
Yeah. Oh, we had a comment. There's a slow, bumpy uptrend coming. That would be nice. Nobody would.
Yeah. You know what? If it look, they say if things bounce too quickly, that's not the main trend. You don't want this thing to just escalate too rapidly. You want it to grind lower. I'd like to see some more work in here, have a bit more of a rounded bottom. But so we may back off here, fill this gap.
Yeah.
And then, but the volatility is so dramatic anymore that these small moves. I mean, if it was going to back off, you'd say, well, I'll sell my whatever today, and then I'll buy it back in a day and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going in the right direction, but we're obviously we may need a little pause that refreshes.
Being around the six, hello. Ichabod, hello. Omar, hello. Matt Podzrowski, hello.
I'm going to put up the Tilray chart.
That Tilroy.
Tilroy. His brother Tilroy is...
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that is a... that's a 3-month chart. That gives you all the information you need. There's the speculative blow-off top, and we had a little action here, failed. Yeah, you know what? We'll see here. You need to see this. This still looks like in a bit of a pronounced downward trend. Market cap on that one is obviously very, very high. Let's look at Curaleaf. Curaleaf came up public a couple days ago and got destroyed. Well, not to be casting aspersions, but I think it got hit pretty good. Yeah, like the look at that, from 1080 down to 710, and the issue was issued at 11:45. So we've clawed back here quite a bit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we go back and test that 1080 over the next week. But it's only at like.
What's TrueLeaf doing? Because that's the.
What's the ticker there?
TRUL. That's it. Yeah.
Is it what exchange?
Well, I'll get on that too. I'm only asking because they have. They've got the small float thing going on too, so you could maybe expect a lot more to the upside on a day like today. But
I just need. Okay, let me.
I didn't actually check. One thing these prices have allowed is for people to feel.
There's TrueLeaf.
Oh, okay, so.
TrueLeaf Cannabis, TrueLeaf, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so it didn't have as dramatic of a day as I may have guessed, but.
Well, I mean, look at this move, eh? Look at this. From $9.50-ish to $23 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Spectacular. It's truly spectacular. And then, all the way back, and now we're starting to see, but it's still, like I don't see anything there that gets me, like I'd like to see a definitive trend get breached.
Yeah.
Like let's put up Afria, for instance.
Yeah. I've always liked Afria, but one thing about the last couple days has really allowed people to feel, once they are fairly certain a bottom has come in, a comfort zone to jump into some of these stocks.
Wow. So, I got to tell you, like, I knew it was up a couple of bucks. I guess I forgot how severe the correction was.
Oh, it was insane.
Look at this.
It made people cry.
$21.
For real.
Crying for mommy, right? Crying for mommy.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, so you know, again, I like this. This is a nice departure, but this has been so overdone. You can hardly notice the bump, and it's up it's up 20%.
Yeah.
From the bottom. Look at this. Got down to 12 and change. Wow.
Yeah. So
these
why
are monster moves.
Well, I mean, today. That's why I say today was so needed and gives people a chance to sigh a breath of relief. Although, yeah, it's still like, let's keep.
Well, like just the move in Amazon alone wiped out about $250 to $300 million of market value. That's just Amazon. That's one company.
Yeah.
From $1 trillion company to a $700 million company.
Yeah.
That's that's in less than a month. Let's say a month. I'm going to put up huge.
Oh, one point I was talking about earlier is a couple days ago is that Rivers might be a good buy at this point too, because it got pushed pretty low, and that they've got real nice positions in a bunch of companies.
They got a lot of positions, and I'm sure they've got the backing too, right? They've got the wherewithal that they need money.
Yeah.
They know how to get the money.
Well, and they're in all these companies for cheap, and so they're going to do. One might expect them to do really well.
Like Huge here had a great day, trading back to 50 cents. But it just doesn't look like we're seeing. Although I like this double sort of bottom action here.
Yeah.
But look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. The stock goes from 20-some cents to 90 cents. Mind-boggling with that kind of. So any others you want to quickly look at? Which one did you just mentioned?
I mentioned
Riv, right?
Riv, yeah. But I'd also like to take a look at Wayland as well.
Okay.
They're both a couple of clients, but I think they're great. They could. I'm not providing advice. I'm a film guy, but they could be good.
Film at 11. Film at 11.
Yeah. This is
the.
Yeah. What are they? They closed at 432. I think they opened at 4.
Got down to 390.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like that could be a good one to me anyway.
Yeah, well, you know what? Again, technically, we haven't seen any real departure. And I'm going to be doing a lot of work tonight. In fact, when I get on the train, I'm going to go through all the charts and see if I can't come up with some strategy.
That reminds me, you said you've been looking at charts for 30 years?
Maybe 40.
Okay, so what did looking at a chart look like in like 1979?
Oh, it was a lot easier to see it because my eyes were so much better.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't just. What was the environment you're in?
You know what? I can tell you this. The more you look at something, it's sort of like the analogy. I'll tell you this little story.
You'd have to print it up. If someone said, "Hey, can I look at the 3-month?" You'd say, "Okay, come back next week when it's done printing." You're like, you asshole.
The more charts you look at, the more you get a feel for. Like I like to see a deviation from a pattern, right? That gets me excited because it is true in this game of trading. The trend is your friend. As long as the trend's intact, go with it. But when it breaks, don't kid yourself. It breaks. If it breaks a pattern.
Wait, yeah.
Look at there's Namaste, $1.82. No love there. That's one of the ones that gets hit pretty hard from the guys in the States, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this one, the trend since the IPO has been sort of moving down, but if they can turn that around, well,
this was at the peak of the nuttiness, right?
Yeah.
And the other one was the A.
Yeah, no, that's true.
The AUSA, which I couldn't believe it traded as high as $16 that day. Somebody's got that lucky.
I'm just gonna get Wayland on the.
Yeah, well, what's the ticker for Wayland?
WAYL. Oh, so they had a good day.
And what's the exchange? CNX?
I should know that.
No,
on our website.
Yes, it used to be called American, right?
That's right.
So is that the action today? $1.63?
Yeah, up to 14.8%.
From $1.30. I mean, you know, again.
But the thing I like about them is their market cap. Like even now, after a day like today, it's 226 million. So to me, there's just so much upside with them.
Yeah.
And there's others out there right now that, they're really at a big discount. You could get some nice positions in now.
Yeah.
Which is sort of annoying because if you got a nice position in a company you thought was good a couple of weeks ago, anyone and their uncle can have a much better position than you right now, right? That's why the Follow the Money guys were on and talking about having, reserve, like keeping 30 or 40% cash for days like yesterday where you can sort of pounce on all this stuff.
I can tell you, I've done so many things wrong over my career. I wouldn't even call it a career. But absolutely, if you're fully invested, chances are you're going to lose money because you have no ability to maneuver.
Yeah.
Something goes down, you have nothing to average down with.
That sounds like me. I'm unmaneuverable right now.
Well, you should pretend that you only have half the money you have.
How do you pretend? What do you do?
Well, there's a lot of pretenders in this world.
Maybe you open up at a bank you don't like and just keep your money there because you don't like dealing with them?
No, you know what? Yeah, you allocate. It's like going to a casino and you're going to play blackjack and you bring, let's say you bring a stake of $2,000. And if you sit down with that $2,000 and you say, okay, I'm going to show these guys a thing or two, you're going to get kicked in the nuts. That's the way it works, okay? You should say, okay, I'm going to go with $500. And if I lose that, I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah.
The average person doesn't understand the statistical probabilities involved in speculation. And especially if you think you're smart, like I used to think I was pretty clever. Well, you're not very clever. I mean, you keep doubling down, you're gonna lose. That's just the way it works. So you should always have a big cash component. I can't stress it enough.
Yeah.
Some people say you should never have more than 80% of your money in the market. Like if you always got to have a reserve.
Yeah.
And the bigger reserve, then you can take advantage of things, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. And well, for me, looking back at a year ago, I don't know if this, at least I don't remember this happening a year ago. I don't think it did. This, especially not this drastic. It seemed like once October was finishing out, there was just a big bull run until New Year's. And then, so, my problem is you kind of expect to see things play out the same way that you did, which doesn't really make sense.
History repeats itself. History doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Right.
Right? So it's going to be a little different, just enough to throw you off.
Yeah. Well, I consider myself thrown.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, yeah, it's not as easy as it looks, right? Because, if you took some money off the table, and then you get this big correction, which we always know it's coming.
Yeah.
And then it comes, and you think, well, not only I've got to sell some of these stocks because I'm getting a margin call, and who's buying it? The guy who sold prudently into strength, and now he's got cash to take advantage of the markets.
Yeah.
Easy to say, hard to do.
One problem
Hexo's going across there up 57 cents. That's a 10% move today.
Yeah. But that's one thing. So I could even take them as an example, or any of these companies. Ianthus, James Wagner is a good one.
Yeah.
My tendency is to look at the companies and compare their market caps. But you just can't. You can't do that because it doesn't play out the way that you expect it to or the way that you want it to. So James Wagner, for example, they have a lot of great stuff going on. I think their market cap is really low compared to peers in the same evolutionary stage.
Yeah.
but it doesn't, and hopefully it will begin to matter, but sometimes it just doesn't.
Well, maybe it's a function of awareness.
Well, yeah. You have some companies with massive market caps without a plant in the ground, or at least that's the way there was.
So maybe they're strong on promotion.
Yeah.
And
perception. Yeah.
Perception as opposed to substance.
Yeah.
Right. In accounting, when you take accounting courses and you take accounting theory, one of the big subjects is knowing the difference between a cover of a book and what's inside the book. In other words, substance versus perception, right? And it is. It's about what's really going on here, because you can be fooled by just looking at the price.
Yeah.
You say, hey, this stock has got a value of this because this, but what's really going on?
Yeah.
And that
was like the trip to LA, you know. Perception was more than
reality. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and while we're talking about it, there's the famous saying, in the beginning, the promoter has the perception and the public has the money. In the end, the public has the perception and the promoter has the money.
Yeah.
So there's a swapping at the, and it's subtle. It's very subtle. And you can get caught up and say, oh my God, this is going to go, and guess what? Then what? Anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, looking at this stuff, I hope that this season is sort of like last year, where, there's a lot of big news releases being put out, and companies are dropping bombs left and right, and that would be fun. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the X factor to me is if the economy overall goes sideways, and then everybody's screwed.
And as things go up, and you start looking at like cash levels, you mentioned cash, but they say that the cash levels are the lowest they've been.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, because then that cash isn't available to buy the bargains. In fact, when the things drop and you get a margin call, it sells it even lower. It can feed on itself if everybody gets caught up. If everybody's in up to here, get out of it. Get out. You want to be in when nobody's in. Yeah. It's not that simple.
It's kind of like swimming.
Yeah. Anyway, nice to see a nice green day, and I know it'll be a better market if it just doesn't take off too quickly.
Right.
That's what I would say. So I think, I like to see it pull back a little bit, do some testing, and then
away we go. See a couple green days, maybe a small red one.
I'd like to see it fill that gap. I really would. I don't want to.
On the S&P
on the
one.
S&P, yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, folks, shall we wrap it up here?
I think we'll wrap
Fraser,
it up there.
always a pleasure. We saw some interesting guests. We had some interesting guests today. Had some interesting interviews.
Yeah, Emblem and 48North.
We may even have a special guest tomorrow, James West.
Oh, yeah, a guest from the West.
A guest from the West. Okay, folks, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm Ed Milewski, Fraser Toms. Goodbye from Midas Letter. Goodbye.